Mic test, mic test. 1, 2.
Good evening to those who are now in attendance. We are going to reconvene to open session at 6:04 p.m. And the report of any action taken in closed session.
Mr. Wynn, we can hear you through here. Okay. I think now they can hear us through the PA system. So we should be good. I'm sorry. Please continue.
Thank you. Gives me a chance to repeat myself. We'll reconvene to open session at 6:04 p.m. We have nothing to report of any action taken in closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.1. And we'll move right to the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Keith Giles.
All right, welcome everybody. If you wouldn't mind standing with me, please. And I'm gonna unhook this, and then I'm gonna say ready to begin with my voice because I don't want to block the flag that I'm pledging to. Ready, begin.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under.
Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you for all who spoke right along with that. We're moving on to 10, addressing the board. Board members will be utilizing electronic devices during the meeting to access the online agenda. And an electronic device may be used to record this meeting. Individuals who wish to address the board may complete a speaker card and present it to the superintendent secretary. The board president will recognize individuals who wish to speak. Individuals wishing to present testimony to the board concerning specific items on the agenda may do so once that item has been moved, seconded, and is on the floor for discussion. Time limits of 3 minutes per person or 20 minutes per item shall be allowed. That's by law 9322. Board members may ask questions for clarification purposes. However, no action may be taken and no discussion may take place on an item not on the posted agenda. That's per the Brown Act. Moving on, we'll move on to comments from PTA. Seeing no hands, we'll move to comments from CSEA.
We have no requests this evening.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Mr. Coleman, sound check. You're in the back of the room. Can you hear us? I'm sorry, ma'am. Can you hear us now? Can you hear me? Okay. So, Mr. Wynn, I just need to ask you to make sure your microphone is right in front of your mouth. Thank you.
Fine, too. Thank you. With no one from CSEA, any comments from the teachers union?
Yes, thank you.
Hear me, or do I? You can hear me? Okay. Hi, good evening. Okay, I'm getting feedback. I don't know if you can hear.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Okay. All right. I'm Gina Whipple, president of the Teachers Association. Good to see everyone tonight. I just want to share with the board that we are very, very excited about getting back to school. Very happy to hear about all of the safety protocols in place, including the masking. So I appreciate everybody following those guidelines from LA County. And also I want to share that we've been working really hard completing PD and preparing our rooms and getting everything ready so that we have just a great environment for our kids. So I appreciate your time. Have a good evening, and I will be reaching out to all of you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. One more, and that is the audience. We'd love to hear from you.
We do have several cards that were submitted to speak this evening. And before we go on, I just want to apologize to everyone for the feedback. We're working on it, and we hope to have that problem resolved by the next board meeting. So thank you for your patience this evening as we work through this. Our first speaker will be Laura Giles this evening.
Good evening. This is not an easy thing to do, to speak in public, especially with the feedback.
Oh.
So be patient with me.
No.
A healthy nation protects its children. Children need to be able to live their lives. They need to be able to go to school. They need to be able to play with their friends. They need to be able to have a childhood. If American adults want to protect themselves, get the vaccine. Teachers can get the vaccine. Mom and dad can get the vaccine. Grandma can get the vaccine. Our children should not bear the brunt of this pandemic. As a mother of 4 children that will be required to wear a mask for the entire school day, I'm very concerned not only with their physical health, as this illness does not pose a great risk of severe outcome in children, but also their psychological and emotional health as well. Listen to their words. I have a statement from my daughter, Caitlin. I'm in the 4th grade. I don't feel good having to wear a mask in school. It gives me headaches. I want to see what my teacher looks like. We don't have to wear a mask outside, so why do we have to wear a mask inside? This is from my daughter, Bella. She says, I'm in the 3rd grade. I hate masks. I can't breathe. It fogs my glasses and I can't see. I want to see my friend's whole face. I can't see my teacher when she smiles at me. This is from my son, Jaden. He says he's in the 5th grade. I don't like masks because it gives me headaches. And it's hard to breathe in. And I can barely talk in it. And I barely get to see my friends and talk to them. I implore you as our elected representatives, do your own research on the risk of COVID to children, on the dangers of masking children physically, psychologically, and developmentally. I'm also asking that as a school board, you adopt a resolution to protect the health and safety of our children. Follow the examples of Placer County School Board, the Orange County School Board, and the El Dorado County School Boards, who all adopted Healthy Children resolutions. I will provide you with a copy of these Healthy Children resolutions. I also ask you to write the California Department of Public Health, the LA County Board of Health, and the governor with your concerns. I also ask that you put mask choice on the agenda. Consider making mask a parental choice instead of a mandate. Thank you. And I have copies of those resolutions. And I think someone else is going to read the Let Them Breathe letter. And I have a copy of that to submit as well.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Giles, if you'll just share that with Mr. Conti. Thank you very much. There was also a card completed for Brianna and Caitlin. Were they going to speak or you read their statement? Okay, Brianna, please come to the podium. Thank you.
All right. So, hello, my name is Brianna Giles. I'm going into the 8th grade, and I don't like to wear masks, especially in school, because it fogs up my glasses and I can't breathe well. masks are bad for kids because how are we supposed to be doing PE in the gym with masks on when we're running with masks? What do you think will happen to the kids with medical issues with their lungs like asthma? It is so hard to socialize with friends and teachers because with masks, it is hard to see friends and teachers' faces with the masks on. So I like to see my teachers and my friends with their whole face showing. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much, Brianna. Nice job. Our next speaker is Laurie Carragosa. I'm sorry.
Good afternoon. This is my first meeting. I came here to talk about the mask mandates. I don't want to be redundant and repeat a lot of things that many informed community members, parents, and citizens have already voiced their opinion about, voiced the data about, and all the other things, because you have all that information. And I realize that you are under the community guidelines and you have to go by what the county public health officers say. I also realize that, as many of you already do, sorry, this echo is really making me crazy, that both City of Palmdale and City of Lancaster have issues with the public health department already, and they're trying to move forward with getting our area and our numbers out of the numbers of LA County, which you have to adhere to now. And that's temporary, but it could take a long time, but it is very apparent that it is a problem. And the kids are suffering because of that. So I've read a lot of different mandates and school oaths and things that the teachers take to help the children and do the best that they can to provide a safe environment for education. And I understand that this is an extreme, difficult circumstance, and you guys your hands are tied in many ways. But I would hope that you would consider the emotional effects on these children. We're created and for relationship. We can't express our relationship to the children. They can't express their relationships. They can't communicate if they have learning disabilities or language barriers or so many other things that these masks really inhibit them from being able to do, and you to be able to communicate to them and help them. My daughter has chosen to move out of California because of all these things, and there are very few states that are doing such harsh measures and trying to push this kind of mandate in the schools. That where she lives in Georgia, it's optional for the children to wear masks. At the very first beginning, they had an option to either wear a mask or wear a shield for some of the children and some of the adults. And shields are much more approachable and better for the children, better for the adults to communicate. And I would just hope that you would take into consideration the rights of people to make their own choices, to get vaccinated if they feel it's necessary for them. But the vaccines, you've already got the data on that, but the FDA is not even approved. It's experimental. And now they want to intimidate different sectors of the population, the schools, federal employees, nurses. You've seen all the stuff on social media. Everybody's got an earful of everything. But it's not helping our kids today. So maybe there's a better option. When you go to a restaurant, you come in, you sit down, you're in your space. You don't have to wear a mask the entire time you're there. Why are kids having to wear a mask in school? What is the point of that? They're required to go on the honor system and fill out their form every day. They don't have fevers. If they do, you deal with that. But well children and well adults don't spread disease. They just don't. And I just hope you would take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have one more speaker, Barbara Long.
Don't like this thing. Hi there, I'm Barbara Long, as you said, and I was here 2 weeks ago at the last board meeting, and there were 6 others that spoke concerning the mask mandate. First off, I want to thank all of you for letting me approach you again. I'm a little bit better prepared this time. When we were here last time, I shared concerns about the mask mandate. Most of us left after we spoke. However, I did go back and listen. One of your members on the board at the end commended us for coming in and stating that the board needs to consider what we said and talk to our legislators on this issue. I'm wondering, did you? If not, can you direct us to who we need to talk to? I read over your agenda for tonight, and I'm real concerned about 11B, the COVID surveillance grant. I'm staying to hear tonight what that's about. When I was here last time, I also asked about the critical race theory curriculum and the new sex education curriculum, and if it was going to be taught in our schools here. Dr. Bowers, you did let me know that somebody would follow up with me, and I've heard nothing. So I'm here asking about it again.
Okay.
And I made a copy of a flyer that I sent in with my blue card. It looks like this one. And somebody had posted this on the internet, and I know it's from a different school district, but it's from a Los Angeles County school district. And I'm wondering if this is posted in our schools as well here. There's pregnancy testing or teen pregnancy prevention, birth control, condoms, emergency contraception, STD, HIV testing, pregnancy testing, sexual health education. And then at the bottom, it says parental consent not needed. I mean, I know what the laws are, that a 12-year-old kid can be escorted by the school nurse to go get an abortion, but I just want to note and have it on the record that this is appalling. And let's see. Okay, enough about that. Oh, I know one other thing I wanted to say. When we tell our kids, when we're raising our children and there's somebody in their life that's telling them, don't tell your mom and dad, don't we tell them when that's a perpetrator? So I know many of you are probably parents and grandparents yourself. I hope something that I'm saying, I've got grandkids. I told you last time how big my family is. I'm not here just for myself, but for a multitude. And even though my child is in special education and he's isolated from a lot of this other stuff, I did interview him regarding the mask, not to go back to that again. He said it's hard to see people's expressions, as this has already been stated by all the other kids. It's hard to breathe and it's hard to concentrate, especially when it's hot. This is very concerning to me because he lives on the spectrum. He has autism. Concentration is really hard for him to begin with. And I already know that you've been presented with tons of data regarding masks and kids. And I want to add, especially, what do we do for kids with disabilities? I mean, I want to fight for all the kids, not just mine or kids with disabilities. But, there's enough evidence to show that these things really don't do any good. And, help us fight. Help us fight for our kids. He just came in last night because he didn't know that until I started writing this stuff and kind of talking about it on the phone. He didn't know that the beginning of the school year, he was going to have to wear a mask at school all day. And he came in with his shoulders down and he said, "Mom, if I have to wear a mask all day in school, I don't want to go back. And I don't want him to do distance learning again." As I said last time I was here, he regressed a lot from being at home, stuck with me, and so that's that. And then I'm well aware from many conversations, I've had 2 kids, actually 3 kids altogether that were on IEPs. But I've had many conversations with a lot of teachers over the years. When I had 2 that were piggybacking on each other, I built a rapport with these teachers. And most of them shared with me that they don't even keep their own kids in public school. And for families that have kids with disabilities, that's not an option to put them in private school. And, several of them said, yeah, off the record, in 2014, I pulled my kids out of school to homeschool. I'm elderly, and homeschooling at 60 years old for the first time was very challenging, but I did it for 3 years. I don't know. I'm just pleading with you guys. And I shared with you when I was here last time that last week was the first school board meeting I've been to. I feel like some of this is our fault because we didn't get involved. And as long as I have breath and 2 legs to walk in here on, I'm getting involved. So I'm coming back. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. And Mrs. Long, I just want to assure you, I'm going to ask Krista to wave her hand. If you see the young lady behind you, she's the one that has tried to get in touch with you. So she'll connect with you this evening to follow up on those items. And this was from another district, correct? Or another area district? Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. And to all the board members, I will make sure that you get copies of all of the documents that were shared this evening. I'll make sure that this is scanned and shared with you. And once you've had an opportunity to review it, then we can discuss all of this further. That is all of the cards that we've received this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Bowers, and thank you for each one of you for getting up and speaking. We'll move on to number 11 for informational items. 11A, Empower Charter School. Dr. Goins.
You're going to present, right?
Yeah, present.
Dr. Goins actually has some slides that he'll be sharing, so you'll see that on your screen. And the audience should see it on the vision board, I believe. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I've made enough mistakes in terms of presentation online that I wanted to make sure that this was done properly, and I thank our IT department for being there to support us in every particular aspect. So thanks, guys. That's awesome. All right, so tonight this is gonna be funny. Okay, tonight's gonna be the purpose of my meeting with you guys tonight, or having the opportunity to be able to speak in front of you tonight, is the idea of being able to give you some information about a school that has existed. Okay, yeah, gotcha. Okay, so the school. You have two options. You have two times to catch me. Okay. So with this particular presentation, what we're getting into is a charter school that is within our boundaries, that is existing, that is moving into being a 9 through 12 charter school that is currently chartered as a 7 through 12. The school is called Empower Generations Charter Accounting, or Charter School. So the purpose of tonight is to provide an overview. Okay. So the purpose of tonight is going to be to provide. Okay, is that on there? Oh, I have to go to end slideshow. Sorry. It's a new room, everybody.
We're working on it.
Try enabling editing.
This thing goes away. There we go. Okay. So again, Empower Generations Charter. The purpose of tonight is to provide an overview of Empower Generations Charter School. That's the first piece that we're going to do. Secondly, we're going to provide details as to Empower Generations Charter School's authorization. So to provide some information about the actual authorization itself, when it started, all of those pieces. And then if we have a little bit of time, we're going to provide an overview of recent charter legislation regarding charter schools and authorization. Just want to make sure for everybody's information, this is for informational purposes only. So at this particular point, we just want to make sure you're aware. So the mission of Empower Generations Charter is to collaborate with learners in health and wellness, lifelong learning, college and career readiness, and community partnerships. Learners become self-directed leaders, problem solvers, creators, collaborators, innovators, and active community members. And he or they accomplish this through a rigorous, relevant, and attainable education program that blends independent study, community experience, and one-on-one support based on the Common Core standards. They celebrate and foster learners' individuality and support them in discovering their highest potential in the environment that best suits their needs. The vision goes on to discuss the idea that all learners will possess that knowledge and skill and confidence to achieve health and wellness, raise healthy and happy children. I want to emphasize that raising healthy and happy children, master academic standards, and develop a deep understanding of subject matter and collaborating effectively with the community in which they live. All learners will graduate with awareness of the preparedness for the endless possibilities of their future while meeting rigorous and attainable graduation requirements. I want to make a point there in the fact that there's, specifically in their charter, there's many areas in which they discuss the ideas of raising healthy and happy children and attaining graduation requirements. That's going to play in to the next few slides. So the background of Empower Generation Charter is this. This charter was originally authorized by Act and Agua Dulce in 2016-2017 school year. Empower Generation Charter was recently renewed by Act and Agua Dulce in December of 2020 for a 5-year term, which is not the highest term that you can get, but the second highest term that Academic Agua Dulce could provide. The term begins on July 1st or this year of 2021 and will continue through June 30th of 2026. The charter received a letter in order to be able to exist within these boundaries, the charter received a letter from the Antelope Valley Union High School District that I believe I provided to the board that it shows that of their knowledge of the existence of this charter at this particular time. The focus of their education program is on pregnant and parenting teenagers ages 14 to 24. The interesting thing about the charter actually says that it focuses on parenting teens who are 14 to 24, however, provides for grades 7 through 12. All right. The educational program consists of this. And a lot of this still reflects the idea of what it is in terms of pregnant and parenting teens. But the Empower Charter focuses on a program revolving around personalized learning, health and wellness, and we wanted to make sure that everybody was aware that this is what we call a dashboard alternative school. So there are different rules and accountability in which they are held to, as opposed to what Lancaster School District or even the Antelope Valley Union High School District would be held to. Personalized learning, they focus on constructivist methods, which means that they're using project-based learning in order to impart their teaching and learning. Competency-based education, making sure that there's an understanding of things before moving on. Individualized learning plans, blended learning, and flexible learning are all parts of this. In terms of the health and wellness for their educational program, it is a focus on pregnancy and parenting. Attention to the whole child and the whole family, so it's not just reflective of the student themselves, but the school does work to or pretends to work with the whole family. Provides for unique graduation requirements, connection to real world experiences, play-based child care as well. There's also the opportunities to be able to work into career readiness. They do have workforce innovation and opportunities. They follow the Workforce Innovation Opportunities Act, which allows them to do CTE, career technical education type courses. So the one thing that I mentioned earlier that I want to make sure we come back to so that there's an understanding of is the idea of a dashboard alternative school. That's a DOS school. A dashboard alternative school, the purpose of this school is to serve students who are considered high risk or highly at or who would be highly at risk. There are 6 indicators on the dashboard that they follow, just like us, academic. On a DOS school, it's modified based upon their own measures. Chronic absenteeism, college and career readiness, English learner progress indicator, that what we call the ELPI, is something that they follow and they have to report on. And the graduation indicator, which is modified for a DOS, meaning that in a normal high school environment, you're going to grade the school on their combined graduation rate for kids who are in that school for 4 to 5 years. Whereas in a DOS school, you're only looking at that 12th grade year. So those students who have come in on 12th grade and graduated after 12th grade. So that's how that works. And then finally, the suspension indicator. Most of these are just like what you see with us. We don't have the graduation indicators because we don't have high schools. But most everything else we don't have career and college readiness either, but the other pieces you do see with us. So the target student population for this school is pregnant or parenting teens. You'll see that there's various other populations that do sit within other areas. It's not just, they don't just have pregnant and parenting teens. However, that's their target population. Although they have stated that they do take in students who are disconnected, disengaged, in many other areas. Justice-involved youth, systems-involved youth are all brought into their program as well. Students who need to retrieve credits are also brought into that course of study. In the current petition from 16-17, and even currently sitting today, that petition says that again, grades 7 through 12, or students who are ages 14 to 24 years of age. This is the enrollment over time since 16-17 with this school. What I've done is I've highlighted the area that would have impacted us. In 7th grade, there was one student that was when and I want to make sure that we understand this. We don't know that these kids were pregnant or parenting at the time. We don't know what their situation was. However, what we do know is that they were in the 7th or 8th grade at the time. So 7th grade, the first year, they've had for the total period that they've existed, they've had effectively five students within that middle school range. So finally, I wanted to provide an update over the work that we've done so far with this school at this point. So I wanted to make sure that everybody in the board understands that we have contacted Acton Agua Dulce. We've talked to Antelope Valley Union High School District and representatives from Empowered Generations Charter with regards to the matter of the charter, including grades 7 and 8, because that would effectively include or impact our students. After conferring with Empowered Generations Charter, we've been informed and believe that Empowered Generations Charter has corrected their charter petition in order for that they will only have grades 9 through 12. I have a draft of the corrections that they've made to the charter that's going to their board on August 12th this month. This correction will shortly take effect after Acton Agua Dulce Unified School District's board meeting on August 12th, 2021. We've been in contact with our own attorney to have a discussion as to what actions were best to take in this situation. And we were told that the action that we've already taken in having the conversation with Acton Agua Dulce, Empowered Charter School, or Empowered Generations Charter, as well as the high school district, was appropriate, and that's what they were looking for us to do. And that was our guidance. And we've requested that upon completion of the board meeting on August 12th, that correction of the charter documents be sent to Lancaster School District so that we might be able to receive that letter and have affirmation that the work has been done. So with that said, I just wanted to provide a real quick overview of what's going on with this school and where they're at, as they do exist within our boundaries. So are there any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Could you turn? Thank you.
Their presence in the internet. They are connected with iLead, which is a charter school that we have chartered. Lancaster School District has approved their charter.
So yes, we have our iLead Lancaster in our system, but there's also they have various sites that are either at like iLead Antelope Valley, which is they have various other sites throughout the valley, not just our valley, but throughout Santa Clarita as well.
But their address is listed in Lancaster at the same location as the iLead.
The Empowered Generations Charter, they're actually getting, yes, but they're actually getting ready to, from what I've been told, they're being ready to move. I haven't confirmed that yet, though.
Okay, so there is obviously a connection with iLead.
Yes, there is a connection.
Who we have a relationship with.
We have a relationship with iLead Charter, yes.
Have we talked with them?
Yes, we did.
Okay, thank you.
That's our person. The same person who runs their charter, does their charter petitions, is the same person who we connected with in terms of Empower and Generations Charter School.
Notice that their board members were the same.
Yes.
So I'm very curious to see if they do make that correction of removing the 7th and 8th graders. I
already have the documents that say that already have it in there. All they need to do now is present it to their board. You're welcome. Mr. Giles.
Yeah, I think you pretty much answered it. Oops, sorry, hold on. No, I guess you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. I guess, so my question is, do they have a campus in Acton, or they just have a campus in Antelope Valley?
No campus in Acton. So
okay.
In Shasta, they're allowed to charter. They used to be able to. They're able to charter a site outside of their area.
Okay, so basically, we don't. Yeah, you don't really know where their campus is at this point. You don't. You said they were moving, but you don't know.
It is. There is a campus on Division that they have.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for the work you've done on this. You've explained it quite well from my first inquiries about it. And even though there's only been 5 students, that is 5 students taken away from our district that really are being taught nothing more than what all of our schools do. So thank you again for looking into this. And with Diane Grooms, I also ask that you provide the letter once they have changed their status to 9 through 12.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to handing it to you.
I have one additional comment. Having run a nonprofit organization program that served pregnant and parenting teens, these are valuable programs. Otherwise, these kids do not complete school. They have very special needs, and I am highly in support of the differentiation of the education that they need. And I just wanted to be really clear on that. So I'm supportive. I just want to know that we are connected properly with them.
Absolutely. I play bass, my ears going out on my left side, so.
Can you stop sharing the screen so that the audience can see all the board members, please? Thank you.
Oh, can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we can. Thank you, Ms. Price.
I worked for Los Angeles County Schools pregnant. Oh God, that's awful. That's a feedback. For pregnant minors for 3 years. And as Diane said, these are incredible programs. And I'm not sure. I think the law has changed and said that pregnant girls can go to self-contained high schools, right? But I want you to know that we had girls as young as 13 and 14 in our program. So it's just a conundrum that we want to make sure we have all the right places for our students. Okay? Thank you. I hate my voice.
And I would just like to assure the board members that, yes, you're correct. We do have young women that are finding themselves in a situation where they are pregnant at early ages. And when we have that situation occur, we work with the family, we work with the student on a one-on-one basis so that we can structure something that's going to work well for them. It has happened, and we have worked with those students, and we will be very happy to continue to work with those students as the need arises.
Thank you. He had a 10-year-old.
Thank you.
Sandy?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Oh.
Thank you.
How come when I'm talking, you can't hear me?
Dr. Goins.
I was going to say yes, and you're still. Thank you, Dr. Goins. Okay. Great.
Move on to 11B, COVID-19 surveillance testing grant. Michelle, Dr. Bowers.
Thank you. Actually, Julie Utzler is with us this evening, and I'm working her overtime. So she has been taking the lead on getting this structured, getting information so that we can figure out what's going on and see how we can utilize this grant to benefit our community. Thank you, Julie.
I have a tendency to talk fast too, so I'm going to do my best.
Thank you.
We were lucky enough to be included in a grant that came through the LA County Department of Health, and LACO, the LA County Office of Education, is the one that actually is helping the districts run the program. Last week, or the last board meeting, actually, you saw the grant come through, and it will provide us up to $2.34 something million to put this mitigation factor in place. And so I just wanted to give you a little bit of information tonight. You'll get some more information as soon as we have all of the details, and I'll give you a presentation and everything so you can see it. But a few just really important facts about what we're doing. What we are doing at this point is we're going to be providing a voluntary COVID screening program in our schools. It will be available to our adults as well as our students. And we're going to be putting together a campaign to get people to participate in the voluntary program. We will be testing people regularly, and right now we're looking at every other week. That is one of the suggestions for using the testing that we're going to be using. I'm not sure if you were aware, but we actually started doing some testing for our staff members back in April. We offered 2 days a week, and people could come in on a voluntary basis to get a COVID-19 test. We're using the PCR test, which is a test that actually takes a look at the genetic makeup of the information that they gather. It's a very simple test. It uses an anterior swab, which basically is just right on the edge of your nostrils. This is the whole test kit. It only takes minutes to actually administer it and have our nurses gather the information, gather the actual test kit, and then get it prepared for sending it to the lab. It's not a rapid test. It takes 24 to 48 hours to process, but it is the gold standard. It pretty much tells us anyone that has COVID or is close to exhibiting symptoms. And remember, what we're looking for when we're talking about screening tests is the asymptomatic people. Symptomatic people we usually find out about because they respond to our screening processes, or they have a fever, or they're just not feeling well. The screening processes help us identify those asymptomatic cases along the way. And if we're testing a group of people every 2 weeks, we get a real good feel for the health of our district. It's one of the mitigation factors and mitigation strategies, basically, that's recommended by the Department of Health in order to keep our campuses safe. So we'll be looking at, we don't have all of the details ironed out other than the fact that we're looking at every other week. We've already worked with the lab. It's Valencia Branch Labs that also is being sponsored by the LA County Department of Health. Right now, the actual testing and testing kits are free. So what we're looking to do with the grant money is increase our health services staff with additional RNs, our regular school nurses, and additional LVNs, which are our licensed vocational nurses that can also assist with the testing process. The test is so easy. It's set up so that most people can actually do the testing themselves, but they have to be observed by a healthcare professional. And so we're able to also use the grant money for incentives, for little treats for any of the students or even staff members that participate in testing, prizes for people that participate in our program for a long period of time, and also support for families or for students who maybe have a whole family that have COVID. So COVID supports was a big part of what we're able to use the grant money for as well. Let me see if I missed anything. I have a whole lot of notes, but I don't want to give you too much. Just a little bit of information about where we're at. We currently have hired a couple of school nurses. So we have one additional to what we had last year, and we've brought in 8 LVNs to our department, which are new. And they are not new to our district. It was great because we do have other LVNs in the district, and they were happy to come back to home at PSA and work with our school nurses. I know I'm proud. I'm sorry. Work with our school nurses to help do the testing program and the testing protocols on campus. So they'll be working to learn exactly what it is they need to do. Again, part of the sign up procedure is for parents to give permission. So nobody's going to be tested without parent permission as far as students go. And when the adults sign up for the COVID testing, they give their permission as they do the sign up process. We will also offer some tests that we will give people that either have gone in with symptoms, possibly to our wellness rooms on the campuses. So if a student comes down with symptoms during the school day, we can offer the parent a test right there before the child goes home. The information from testing comes back to us by means of charts, graphs. We can see where positive cases occur and then start working on them and make sure that we don't have more cases than we might have otherwise. Parents will also get the information on their student, and that will allow them to seek medical help if they need it. It will also give them peace of mind if the tests continue to come back negative. Any questions at this point? Yes.
The grant money.
We have a year. And so the grant money will be available to us this year. We can use it for materials and supplies, and using it for our staffing. Obviously, you know, we're hiring people. I will tell you that we need those additional people for more than just the COVID testing. And so I think that as we go through the year, we'll see how they can improve the health services that we have to offer our students. And hopefully we can find other funding to keep a lot of the people that we bring in.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Is it a one-time grant, or is there a possibility to renew it at the end?
As of right now, it's one-time money. Yes. I think the money was intended to help us get through this first year and get kids back in the classroom and keep them there.
It was a short notice for when we received the money, because we were notified at the end of May, early June, and it almost went into effect immediately. So we've been trying to get a lot done in a very short period of time, keeping in mind that we only have a year. But we are excited and appreciative of the fact that we are able to really focus on improving our health services as we return students and staff members to our school, because we know that everyone's going to be sensitive about that, and we want to be proactive and not reactive. Any other questions for Julie? At this time, she will be coming back when we have more details about exactly how this is going to come together, but we wanted to make sure you were aware that we are moving in this direction. We have received the grant, and we're very excited about the increase in health services that we'll be able to offer as school year begins. Thank you in advance, because I know it's a lot of work, Julie.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. We'll move to 11C, HVAC replacement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nguyen. So Dr. Freeze will be talking about considerations. We just keep making improvements. So considerations for HVAC replacement. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bowers. Good evening, members of the board. If you recall, the district took advantage of Proposition 39 funding a few years back. That was money from the state that was designated for districts that performed energy retrofit projects. What was special about that money is that we had to demonstrate a certain savings to be eligible for the money. And when the district conducted its initial analysis, the intention was to replace HVAC units. Replacing those units alone did not meet the standards that the state designated, which is for every dollar spent you had to save $1 and a penny at least in energy. And that's one of the reasons why the district pursued the batteries that are now part of our solar system. Those batteries helped us make the calculation. We replaced as many HVAC units as the calculation would allow, which I believe was about 110, 120 units. We have way more units, though, that need to be replaced. And so we were very excited when we saw the expenditure requirements for some of the federal dollars and some of the state monies too. And one of the options for expenditures was to improve indoor air quality in school facilities, specifically through replacing HVAC units. So when we saw that that was going to be one of the standards, before we even received money or even knew how much money we were going to get, we made a decision that this was a path that was extremely valuable to the district. And it's primarily because so many of our units are old. It's difficult to find parts. They're incredibly inefficient. Some of these units are 40 years old. And some of them just don't work as well as a new unit does. And we've even seen some challenges with some of the older units in working properly with the MERV 13 filters. Those filters are stressing some of these older systems. And so in January, I directed M&O staff to begin a count of the number of HVAC units by school site, their relative age, and the condition of those units. We got back a priority list of replacements based upon, first, the age of the unit, what was its general condition, and could that unit still function properly with regular service, or was it reaching a point where it wasn't serviceable? It might have been an odd unit that it's difficult to get parts for, or something of that sort of strategy. It was amazing how many HVAC units we have in the district that are 40 years old. I have a rental house. My HVAC unit went out at 15 years. It just died. And yet we have some that kept going for 40 years, which speaks to the talent of our district M&O staff that they keep these units going. Well, you can imagine how difficult it is to get parts for some of these units right now. So when we saw the age of so many of these units, we decided at this point that we entered into discussions with our architect and a mechanical engineer to begin doing some deep analysis of all the units district-wide to determine a priority list of replacement. Because the key thing we have to be concerned about is, especially for rooftop units, we can't increase the weight of a unit. As soon as you do that, it triggers a DSA review. And you all know how long it takes to get something through DSA. We're taking the same approach that we did with Proposition 39, and we're doing like for like. That's what we're considering at this time, to minimize the amount of planning time and certainly to keep it from having to go through a DSA review. Through that review that's been done by Fluellen and Moody and their engineer, their mechanical engineer, they've identified upwards of 500 HVAC units that could potentially be replaced. These are wall-mounted units on portable classrooms. There are also rooftop units, and there's also something called a split system, some of those units. So our strategy at this point is to first apprise the board, and that's the purpose here this evening, and then develop the sequenced project that would replace the units during off-track times. And so that would be taking advantage of the 3-week holiday break and the summer vacations to replace units when the employees aren't there because we have to basically take a classroom offline. The units we replace with are both for heating and air. They serve dual purposes. We don't know yet how many units we would actually attempt to replace because we don't know what the bid values would come in at. If you can imagine, every district in the United States of America had access to these same funds. And considering the age of schools throughout the nation, there are probably many districts who are anxious to purchase HVAC units. So when you talk about supply and demand, at some point you're going to reach a demand that's going to outstrip supply and likely going to have an impact upon prices. That's why I can't come to you this evening and give you any idea of what this is going to cost. But what we will do is identify which units that should be replaced in a priority order. And that way, if we reach a point where the board is only comfortable spending X number of dollars, we can look through our priority list and take care of the units that have to be taken care of first. And obviously, those are going to be some of our oldest units. In the future, you will see a purchase order item that'll be coming forward that represents some of the invoiced costs that the architect has put in for these initial design phases. We will also bring forth, hopefully in the next 30 to 45 days, information about what the bid package looks like with some potential estimates for costs. And then we'll apprise the board of the situation and try to get some direction upon which route we want to go. I'm hopeful that we'll be able to knock out 60 to 80% of these units. And you can imagine the investment in our district that this represents. Because these units are so old, they're extremely inefficient. And so as soon as you replace them, the value you get back with decreased electricity costs will start to pay for these units over time, not to mention the challenges we face right now in repairing these units. The parts have become extremely expensive. A lot of times we cannibalize one unit and use those parts to fix other units. Wouldn't it be great if we could get brand new units and we wouldn't have to take that course anymore? And it also relieves some of the stress that our two HVAC mechanics are experiencing. Right now in our system, I think we had upwards of 60 work orders that came out literally today, specifically for HVAC. Our guys knock them out quick, and we actually place additional employees to take care of those issues. But with new units, you would almost eliminate that seasonal call on having to repair the units. So I can answer any questions you might have this evening. Yes.
So is this a federal grant program?
There's actually two pots of money that we can draw from. One is the ESSER $3, but there's also some CDE in-person instruction funds. These also qualify for that expenditure. So we have two areas from which we can draw. These are one-time monies. Ms. Price, did you have a question?
Yes. Are you going to be able to get units?
That's a great question.
It is.
It's interesting. I was on the road on the weekend about 2 weekends ago. I never saw so many semi trucks with trailers pulling air conditioner units to California. So there's certainly demand. I think the companies that produce the units recognize that there's going to be a nationwide demand. But I also think we're ahead of the curve because we started our analysis in January. We saw the writing on the wall and we got to work right away. If we can get our bid out before other districts, we'll be ahead of that curve that I think we'll be able to secure our units and get our projects done before the real demand kicks in. So we did intentionally start early, knowing that the demand would be there.
I bought a new air conditioning heating unit today. I had 4 different people come out to give me cost, and 3 of them have a very difficult time finding any of the equipment. It's not just the equipment, it's the cellular things that go inside. So it's been frustrating. So I'm hope we're ahead. Surprisingly, the people I bought from today did this last winter. They bought extra, right, so they wouldn't have to worry about the rush. So
I think one of the other advantages is the way we're structuring this. We're going to have work at different periods. And so we can put in our orders for equipment 6 to 8 months before we actually need to install it. That'll give whatever contractor would get this project, if we decide to move in this direction, time to place the orders for the equipment, so that by the time that time period comes up, those units will have been manufactured and delivered for installation. If we were trying to do them all in one summer, I think we'd be out of luck. But we're going to be stretching this over multiple years to make this actually work out.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you for your time.
That concludes our presentations this evening, or actually our informational items. I'm sorry.
We'll move on to number 12, and that is presentation, request, proposals, and reports as it pertains to 12A, Independent Study Program for 2021-2022.
Thank you very much. And we have the fabulous and recently very overworked Mr. Wood, our principal at our LAVA program, we've been keeping him very busy. And Mr. Hoffman is going to be co-presenting with him this evening on independent study and some of the changes that have recently occurred and how we're responding to that.
Make it beginning.
Principal at Volcano. Oh.
All right. So thank you. Tonight, Mr. Wood and I are going to take some time to bring you up to speed on both our LAVA program and the changes that have occurred in the independent study recent legislation. LAVA is our Lancaster Alternative and Virtual Academy, and Mr. Wood is the principal of the school. So next slide. So on July 9th, Governor Newsom, he signed Assembly Bill 130 into law, which created new provisions which included some significant modifications to the independent study program, which blends the traditional model of independent study with what we saw in distance learning last year. It was an effort to bring some of those pieces of distance learning into a model that already existed in districts throughout California. And we saw that there was a lot of interest still in virtual education. And this was a way to bring together an opportunity to offer folks independent study in a virtual format. And we, offering Options and Excellence, already have a program in place through our LAVA program. So the school districts are required to offer independent study programs as an option So either in person or independent study. And a district can choose to work with a county office of education, with another district, or they can run a program in their own district. Through our Lancaster Alternative Virtual Academy, we are basically geared up to implement this pretty quickly and make and add the modifications as needed. The bill requires that the districts notify families of their options to enroll in person instruction or in the newly modified independent study. Therefore, it's pressing that our board policy and AR are updated to reflect these required changes. CSBA put out some sample language recently in the last 2 weeks, giving us a language for board policy and AR that you'll see on for approval tonight. So it's our purpose to present the updates and the impact on our independent study program. We'll also give you an overview of our independent study program. And we'll highlight, rather than giving a checklist of the new things that are in the board policy, we'll embed through the changes through our program. So you'll see how we offer the program and the changes that we've made to embed the AB 130 language into what we're doing with our new independent study program. Next slide. So independent study program there is a long-term independent study, and the language is 15 days or more, up to 1 school year. There is a short-term independent study that has been 5 days, but is now 3 days in the new language. But tonight we're going to talk about the long-term independent study as it would be offered through our LAVA program. So it's an alternative instructional strategy. It's not an alternative curriculum. It's optional. So a student can opt into this program if it's something that they're interested in. And if a parent is interested to get into this program with their child, they can request an orientation conference and then meet with Mr. Wood and talk about the program, learn more about what's offered and how the program works. Next slide. The biggest change about the language is that it is substantially equivalent in quality and quantity to classroom instruction found in traditional classroom on a comprehensive campus. We'll discuss ways that occurs, especially in synchronous instruction, live interaction, as we go through the presentation tonight. It also provides parents and guardians with options and procedures for enrolling and disenrolling. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later as well. Next slide. And independent study students will work independently. There will be synchronous opportunities, live interaction, as I mentioned, but a bulk of the work is independently through asynchronous work, where students have time to work at their own pace, and the board policy outlines the amount of time that students would have to conduct assignments, while our language talks about weekly check-ins. All right.
Well, Dr. Bowers, thank you for the brief introduction. I am Mr. Wood. I am the proud principal of the Lancaster Alternative Virtual Academy. And so thank you, board members, for appointing me to that position. I hope to do you proud and continue to offer options and excellence for Lancaster School District students and families. So our Pathfinders is basically our mascot, our motto. Our vision is to build self-driven learners and help students learn how to advocate for their learning needs. We have the compass as kind of like a tool to guide you, as if it were in a forest and you need to find your direction on a hiking trail. We help students navigate through their curriculum and courses for kindergarten through 8th grade. So we are not a comprehensive campus. We are a school of choice. We will offer English learner services of integrated and designated supports. We will address IEP services. An IEP team must meet to review, discuss, and agree independent study. We also need to determine whether the special education services will be provided in accordance with the agreed upon IEP regarding independent study. Each IEP and service that is provided, whether it is resource, speech and language, mild, moderate students, that will be done or conducted in a live interaction virtual learning service session. So we offer multi-tier systems of support. Students with MTSS needs will be provided for students not performing at grade level or in need of support in other areas such as English language support, students with disabilities with individualized education programs or a Section 504 plan, students in foster care or experiencing homelessness, and students requiring mental health support. LAVA's virtual program consists of some of the following and not all of the following: self-contained classroom, synchronous online instruction, asynchronous instruction and activities, standards-based instruction, integrated lessons, tiered supports, re-engagement strategies, VAPA, our visual and performing arts component, innovation pathways, which is our college and career readiness for students 6th through 8th grade. And then lastly, our project-based electives, which is our signature practice. LAVA also offers home hospital. So that is done by a doctor's orders for a specific length of time with an anticipated return date. We'll provide textbooks and technology. The instruction can be delivered synchronously or asynchronously. Teachers will provide 1 week worth of assignments. We also are proud to say that we will provide 1 hour of personal instruction, but due to COVID-19, we are not going into the home until state regulations and federal regulations are lifted and allow us to provide that service. The asynchronous platform will be delivered through Google Classroom, which will maintain work samples for auditing purposes and collected into the Google database overseen by Lancaster School District. And then lastly, teachers will have the ability to access the student work and vice versa. Students will be able to access the teacher's assignments. Attendance will be taken for the virtual academy through a virtual or face-to-face virtual using the WebEx platform or including the Google platform and online assignments. A weekly learning log will be completed and submitted, which will show time values and equivalencies to the work done by the student. All grades will be uploaded into PowerSchool, and the grades, as usual, will be determined by the teacher with work completion and quality. And poor attendance, we always remind families, can result in lower grades. If they do have lower grades, we will initiate our tiered plan of re-engagement for students to provide additional supports. Our student expectations: complete assignments, producing quality work. Grades are at least a satisfactory or better. The new Assembly Bill 130 removed the C criteria and now labels it a satisfactory or above. Online portfolio must be maintained, a PE log done monthly, and that PE log is still in accordance to the state requirements and must show documentation that the student is completing 200 minutes every 10 days of PE or physical education. We must take state and district tests as mandated. And if identified for support, a student must attend intervention sessions as directed by the teacher. Our tiered re-engagement elements contain SSTs, ELD, integrated and designated supports, ILPs, which is our individualized learning plans for students that are struggling in a particular topic or area. If I were to give an example, it could be a kindergartner that is struggling with phonemic blends like PH, TH sounds, or maybe even one of our 8th graders that are struggling with quadratic equations in algebra. Attendance monitoring, counselor supports, health and wellness supports available for our families and students, provided through the Department of Pupil Safety and Attendance in conjunction with our counselors and psychologists, including our school nurses and health clerks. And then we also address, as appropriate, students with individualized education plans. Our tiered re-engagement for evaluation are grades lower than satisfactory or attendance of 3 or more consecutive days absent. In Assembly Bill 130, they mentioned 60% of the work week, so we've equated that to the 3 days, and or 3 missing assignments. They could have 3 missing assignments within 1 day or within the week. We will still need to offer some sort of re-engagement support. Time for completion of assignments, assessments, and other things will be part of the evaluation process, providing students with intervention supports, and then we will review the appropriateness of independent study before a student would be dismissed and asked to go back to in-person instruction. That is clearly outlined in Assembly Bill 130. We offer tiered re-engagement with individualized learning plans. I addressed that in the previous slide. It has the diagnostic testing. Last year for the state assessment, we used iReady data. We also used the formative assessments, SBAC, or CASP as we refer to it, teacher and student goal setting, targeted instruction with Tier 2 and Tier 3 supports, teacher and student assessments, and then that is always updated throughout the year. If a student were to start an ILP, they could be on it for 5 weeks. They could be addressing that for a semester, maybe even the year. My intention is not to have a student continue to get services for a year, but to make sure they are leveling up to their grade level and being academically prepared for their next grade level.
I'll take this slide. So families who wish to return to in-person instruction from independent study must request a meeting to discuss disenrolling. So that's been a question that folks have had, that if you're in and wanting to return to your neighborhood school, are you not allowed to do that? No, you would need to request the meeting to discuss this disenrolling, and you would be able to return to your home school. If you're in one of our school of choice, and you've been in that already enrolled, but you decide to go on independent study, and for some reason you decide to go back, you would still have a space to return to the school that you were enrolled in. That was a school of choice. So that's an important distinction as people weigh out the options of joining independent study. Back to you, Robert.
So we will provide technology. I know the district has a plan for all families that the technology is not to be turned in, no matter what location they are going. But if we do enroll new families, and we have families from all over Los Angeles County and outside of our county coming into our program looking for that virtual experience, so we will provide those Chromebooks. We will also provide hotspots if needed. And for our families that may be in a homeless situation, we can exchange those or give them the ability to charge a device if needed. They just need to get in touch with us. Insurance is also included with those devices if they are interested. Our 2 main learning platforms are Hvac, which we do our virtual and face-to-face instruction. And then we also have our Google Classroom, as mentioned earlier, where we store all of the data. I can access all of the files from teachers from the previous year when I was there as well. And we will hold that as long as the state requires it, which I believe was 4 years. They actually hold it indefinitely since it's digital. We will address the core curriculum, math, PE, which we do loan the equipment if a student or family so desires to need equipment. For instance, if they're working on baseball skills, we'll provide a ball, a bat, and a glove. If they're working on soccer skills, we can provide that with a kickback net or bungee cord. So we have a variety there that we can loan out to them. Social studies, science, English language arts, and of course, the writing, listening, speaking, and reading components are embedded within those subject areas. Elective classes such as makerspace, video editing, book clubs, coding, readers theater, animation, and our music program, which we will also provide the equipment for at no cost. If there's a question that a parent would like to get a flute, we will go through our music teacher and put in an order to get that, because we do not want to deny them that service. Also in the Independent Study Education Code, it states that we cannot deny them something if they have it on a traditional comprehensive campus. We should be able to provide it on a virtual campus or alternative campus. So those are just some of the electives that we have. Lessons on the far left corner, curriculum support, small group instruction and intervention. We must have that attendance accountability piece on the left in red. Go over the assessments in the green box, as mentioned earlier, and then cover the listed objectives, not only that are offered by our school district, but are mentioned in AB 130. Our sessions will look roughly like this. Our AM block will be from 8 to around 11:15. The staff will take their break, and then we will have a PM session starting at 12, going to 2:30. And then there will be an extended period of time till 3 where we can provide services of intervention and re-engagement supports. Our typical day, Monday through Friday, the top pink area would be our synchronous instruction, covering all the core curriculum. iReady is done in an asynchronous format with virtual check-ins from the teacher to make sure students are completing that. The gray section is the asynchronous platform. And then PE, of course, that's done asynchronously outside of our school and completed at home and tracked with a parent PE log attached with some digital data such as a picture from the cell phone. They can paste that right into the document if needed. Sora is our online library that our district provides, and that can be done for teachers that assign reading logs for the week to our younger kids all the way up to our older students. And so we're looking at roughly a 6+ hour day, completing at least the 30 hours for the week. Through our PSA department, in conjunction with LAVA, we are looking at our social emotional development. We are doing that district-wide professional development on Thursday around social emotional learning. We'll provide the positive behavior interventions and supports as PBIS as we know it. CKH, student recognition as part of social emotional development. We have our PBIS matrix to the left. And then we also have our school counselor, and that is actually a link to her webpage, and you can visit that website. And the counselor provides all types of additional supports as needed, from 911 to emergency hotlines for families that basically do not know what to do and need additional help. So our master agreement looks a little like those 3 photos on the right. We had just updated that in the Ed Services Department, and we are already starting to initiate that. And through the business department, we have DocuSign because in AB 130, we want to be able to provide the parents the ability to digitally sign so they're not driving around all over the place to collect signatures or come to us and get things. So we do have that in hand, and we are programming that to get it sent out. And we are at the end of this, and I do want to let the board know that I do have a quick 1 minute, 40-second video that is digital that ITS has put on our webpage. And after questions, I would love to share that with all of you.
Are there any questions? Mr. Wood, you did a fantastic job. Thank you so very much. I know that you've been burning the candle at both ends, trying to keep up and get ready for the rush and for school to start. But thank you very much for all that you do. Just know how much you're appreciated.
Thank you. And share that video.
Okay, thank you very much.
We're going to pull up the video, Dr. Bowers, if that's okay.
Yes, that's wonderful.
Thank you.
So I have a quick question. Is this available in Spanish?
The
The video?
presentation,
The video.
not yet, but we are working on it.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
It certainly is comprehensive.
Absolutely. We're happy that we did not have to start from scratch. A lot of work had already been done. So we were able to build on the program that we have in place, which made it a lot easier. But there have been a lot of new changes that we've had to make some modifications for. But it's going very well. We're excited.
Yeah, great job. I like all the new changes and great video to go with it.
Yes, absolutely. So we'll be sending out a parent notification letter probably tomorrow or the day after, notifying parents of the availability of our independent study program. And we will continue to move forward in preparing for that and making sure that it's available to parents that are interested.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Wood. And Mr. Hoffman. That was quite, for what, 30 days is all you've had to put all of this together? Something like that? Quite a lot of work to do in such a short period of time. Thank you. Moving to number 13, individual action items of the superintendent. First being adoption of resolution 2020-2202, board member compensation to missed meeting for Greg Teepee. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Moved by Sandra Price, second by Diane Grooms. Is there any comment? Discussion? With none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Negative, nay?
One abstain. Okay.
Abstain or just not vote?
And one abstain. Yeah. And I appreciate that. It was a family emergency, so thank you for covering for that.
Thank you. Moving on to number 13B. It will be a motion to adopt of update to board policy and administrative regulation 6158, independent study and hang on one second.
That's it.
And deletion of board policy 6157, distance learning.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Giles, second by Mrs. Grooms. Is there any discussion? I do like the last part of that, and that is deletion of board policy 6157, distance learning. It is nice to be back at school. With that, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any negatives, say nay. Vote passes 5-0. Well, thank you. Now we can move forward to action item 14, the adoption of resolution 2021-22.01, resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Lancaster School District authorizing the issuance and sale of its general obligation refunding bonds, 2021 Series A, federally taxable, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $20 million, and approving certain other matters relating to said bonds. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Teepee, second by Sandra Price. Any discussion?
To say there was a presentation last board meeting by Emilio Flores from CFW, and we do have Kush here from CFW to answer any questions. Kush, would you mind approaching the podium? I know Mrs. Grooms has some clarification that she needs. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Kush Kiara with CFW. Very pleased to be here tonight to answer any questions on this item that you may have.
Start. Most of the documents that were provided in our board packet were forms that did not have actual dollar amounts or even examples of dollar amounts of what we would be refunding, what we would be receiving back, And I just don't have a clear picture at all of the financial structure of this.
Absolutely. Thank you, ma'am. That's a very good question. I'd like to first address just the structure in general, and then I'd like to come back and address your specific question as to why this document contains blanks that's being brought for your consideration tonight. Refinancing a school bond is very similar to refinancing a home mortgage. When you issue school bonds, essentially investors lend you money. You use those monies to build and construct and improve school facilities in the district. And in turn, those bonds are being paid back by property taxes being levied on property owners in the district. Currently, those bonds, using very round numbers, carry an interest rate of about 4%, which was the market rate when the bonds were issued back in 2013, about 8 or 9 years ago. Today, as you know, we're near historic lows on interest rates, and those same interest rates are a little bit below 3%. The savings are generated by applying a lower interest rate, because when you pay back the bonds, you pay back both the principal as well as the interest on the bonds. Just using round numbers, a 1% difference against $20 million is about $200,000 a year. And so you'll be paying approximately that much back less. Your interest payments will be reduced in the first year. And in future years, the total savings are estimated to be a little bit over $2 million, almost $2.5 million right now, as interest rates have actually dropped since Mr. Emilio Flores made the presentation to you. So that's essentially the mechanism as to how the savings are done. It's the fact that you'll be paying a lower interest rate on the new bonds, okay? Very similar to refinancing a home mortgage, where if you have a lower interest rate, you're still going to pay back the principal. That won't change. The interest component is lower. Specifically, to answer your questions, the board resolutions for your consideration tonight establish a framework for your staff to go ahead and complete the acts required to refinance these bonds and to be able to work on your behalf to negotiate interest rates with the underwriters. So the reason that you have a lot of blanks is until the day of the pricing, and the day of the pricing is the day that you sell the new bonds. And we will represent the district as your financial advisor. We will invite the county treasurer's office to participate, to assist in representing you as well. And this team will then negotiate with the underwriters an interest rate based on the prevailing rates on that day. Once those interest rates are established, then we have the ability to lock in what exactly the dollar amounts will be. And then a purchase contract is established and provided to your staff for signature at that time to lock those numbers in. But the current documents just provide a framework for your staff then to proceed with the process. We're unable to provide you a specific number today as to what the interest rates will be at the time of the pricing, which once again, we anticipate to be about 2 weeks out.
Well, at a minimum, I would like an example. We're talking about $20 million in bonds. How many are you talking about refunding? How much? Just give me an example of how that might look as opposed to a document that's full of financial blanks.
Oh, absolutely. So the current estimated savings to taxpayers after all costs at today's interest rates is about $2.5 million. So they will be paying $2.5 million less over the remaining life of the bonds if the refunding were to be completed today. That number may vary. We would hope it goes up, but it can also go down. And what your staff retains the ability to do is on the day of the pricing, if the rates of the savings are below what they consider acceptable, for them to say that they do not wish to proceed. But the best example I can give you.
I'm sorry, that's not giving me the example of what I need. There are costs to the district, expenses that are listed, and the cost of refunding, the cost of reissuing. I want to know the cost to the district for making this change, because I've been through these processes before and we did not have enough information. I want that information to make a good fiscal determination as to whether we should do this at this time.
Absolutely, Ms. Grims. And I think the question you're asking, if I understand, is what would be the cost to the district if we proceed with this? Okay. I understand the question now. The total fees.
Basically a comparison to if we left it as it is now and if we changed it. Who benefits, where the costs are that are related on both sides, and the difference on the impact of our own credit rating by refunding these bonds, etc.
So I don't know that the refunding will have a direct impact on your credit rating, Mrs. Grooms, but if it does, it would have a positive credit rating because you're lowering your debt burden within your district. It would definitely not have a negative credit rating. It may have a positive credit rating. And you're asking a great question. That's a process that your staff will be going through to secure a rating over the next week or so. But there will be no negative impact on your rating. Specifically regarding costs, the costs of issuance include the bond counsel fee, the financial advisor, which is my firm, the underwriter, which is the broker who buys the bonds, the rating agency, which is the folks that give you the rating, and then there's a couple of other components like the trustee and so on and so forth. Okay? The total cost of issuance, including all of the above, we anticipate to be somewhere in the region of about $270,000. Okay? In addition, there is insurance that we may or may not purchase. What insurance is a entity co-signs the bonds and says for any reason, if you cannot pay, the Lancaster School District cannot pay back the bonds, they will pay that. Okay? In exchange for that, they will want a fee. Okay? The fee is estimated to be about $50,000. We don't have a bid yet, but that's what we estimate it to be. We will only purchase insurance if purchasing insurance reduces the cost of borrowing by more than $50,000. Okay? And why would it reduce the cost? Because some investors get a level of comfort if there's a co-signer on the loan and they'll accept a lower cost of borrowing. So those are all of the costs. Okay? If the transaction goes through, after all costs today, we estimate that the taxpayers will save about $2.5 million because today they're paying over market rates on the bonds. Okay? If the transaction does not go through, if for any reason your staff determines that the market moves away from us, if the savings move away, if the savings are not sufficient, your staff will then make a determination not to do the transaction. At that point, you don't owe me any fee, you don't owe the bond counsel any fee, you don't owe anyone any fee except for the rating agency. That's the only fee that's not contingent, okay? Because it would be a conflict of interest for them to do it on a contingent basis. So if the transaction were to go through today, after all costs, the taxpayers would save about $2.5 million. If the transaction were to not go through, the only the item that the district is out is the rating cost. And typically what would happen is we would wait until the future, until another opportunity came along. Okay? Mm-hmm. What's giving you the unique opportunity right now and why the savings are, we had initially told you 2 million and they're about 2.5 million. The treasury rates have actually dropped over the last few weeks, and it's primarily been based on the fear of the Delta variant, okay, and the potential impact on the economy going ahead. What's bad news for the economy is good news for bonds.
Now, could you just clarify for the board? I believe Emilio had mentioned it in his last presentation that the $2.5 million savings is after the cost is subtracted from the proceeds. So there is no net cost to the district, with the exception of the rating fee if we decide not to go through with that.
No,
that is exactly right, Dr. Bowers. So in another way to see it is the total savings would be $2.8 million. I'm using round numbers over here. Approximately 300,000 of the savings would go to paying costs, and a net of 2.5 would be passed back to your taxpayers. Okay? At the end of the day, this does not result in
that additional dollars. Then is part of that bond. It doesn't come out of our general fund. Okay.
Great questions, Mrs. Holmes. Thank you.
Any other questions?
If we do initiate this, how long of a process is it from start to finish?
We're hoping to fast track this and wrap this up in the next 2 to 3 weeks. There's two situations which are favorable to us right now. One is the interest rates have dropped. Once again, doesn't mean they couldn't drop even more in the future, but they're back to very attractive levels right now. And the second factor is bonds mature typically in August. So in August, folks get redemptions from the bonds. They get money, the check in the mail, figuratively, and they're looking to reinvest that money, potentially in additional bonds. Bond sales are about demand and supply. We want to be in a situation where there's a lot of money burning, quote unquote, figuratively, a hole in people's pockets, looking to buy bonds. Okay? So your staff has been very kind and been very generous with that time. We're hoping to get to the rating agency in the next couple of days over here. Potentially post the prospectus to the investor sometime next week. And by about mid-August, we're looking to lock in the interest rates because we believe this is a favorable time to do it.
And I believe Mrs. Grooms may have another question.
Just wanted the opinion of our superintendent on this item.
Absolutely. I am completely in favor of this, as there is no cost to the district, but the district still gets to be good stewards of this bond and take an action that is going to benefit our community to the tune of $2.5 million. So I put Kush through the ringer before I brought it here.
You did.
Checking.
Any other questions?
Further questions?
Yes, move the question.
You have a question?
No, I said, Are we moving the question?
Thank you very much, Kush. I think
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Good night. Thank you.
we'll be able to look at this now and ask for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any negatives, say nay. Vote passes 5-0. Chris, thank you for staying so late. Safe drive back to Los Angeles.
Thank you, board, for your support.
We're counting on your oversight.
We'll move on to number 15, consent agenda items. Superintendent, 15A to 15D. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Thank you. Moved by Mr. Giles, second by Mr. TP. Is there any discussion? Well, I think we should acknowledge again KB Homes for the donations they made for the Welcome and Wellness Center and the great backpack giveaway we had. It's companies like this that are out there, and I'm sure we'll be seeing some more in the near future, perhaps Amazon and others. So with that, if there's no further discussion, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Any negatives, say nay. With that, vote is 5-0. Now we'll move to the consent agenda items for business 16A through 16G. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Thank you. Motion by Sandra Price, second by Keith Giles. Is there any discussion?
Nice to see the completion of the preschool concrete work.
Mhm. The equipment will be able to go on, right?
With no further discussion, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any negatives, say nay. Vote passes 5-0. Moving to 17, educational services consent agenda items, 17A through 17F. Do I
So
have a
moved.
motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Moved by Ms. Groom, second by Mr. Teepee. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any negative, say nay. Vote passes 5-0. Moving on to consent agenda items, number 18, A through 18C. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Giles, second by Ms. Price. Is there any discussion? We're all quiet tonight.
Mhm.
We're talked out.
I'll ask for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any negatives, say nay. Vote passes 5-0. Going on to 19, consent agenda items, innovation and technology services.
So moved.
19A through 19H. Motion?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Teepee, second by Sandra Price. Any discussion?
There's some really neat things on this particular consent items here. There's the ACES programs, just a lot of good things that I'm glad we're approving tonight so that they can keep going, because they have really been helpful during COVID, and they good work. Hear, hear.
I agree. I think we all do. With that, I'll ask for all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Any negatives, say nay. Vote passes 5-0. And we are now in second readings of 4141, 4241, and update the board policy employee security to board policy 7211, developer fees, and regulation 4158, 4258, 4358 for administrative regulation for employee security, and administration administrative regulations 7 to 11 developer fees. Is there any comments? I think that did it, Michelle. I think we have passed through all of the consent agendas and legislative discussions. And we will now move on to comments from the board and other discussion as it applies. We'll start with Diane Grooms.
Thank you for indulging me my many financial questions. I read every page of every one of those documents, and I could not develop a clear start-stop example like I could when I refinanced my house, as he put it. Even the escrow department would give me, this is our example of our fees, and this is, but none of them are secure until the close of escrow. I understood that, but I think it would have been a lot easier to understand if there was at least an example of, we're talking $20 million. So that deserves a lot of our attention. So thank you for indulging me those questions. I am excited that this will not in any way affect our credit rating. In fact, may put us in better standing. That is also a concern for us when we're talking about this. And I did not realize the timing of the completing this within the next couple of weeks, so that people who have additional investment monies could take advantage of this. So that was very, very helpful. I have to say, the Innovation and Technology Department, they have the best names for the companies that we deal with. Kangaroo Time, Asset Panda, all of these things, I can understand exactly what they are before I even get into the second paragraph. And it's really fun. And I do appreciate there are very few acronyms anymore. That is important for our understanding of the whole community about what we're doing. I'm very pleased that there is legislation now to support changes in distance learning that really do support our kids. It does make it hard to do our work, but it is supposed to be hard. And only our children will benefit. And I also would like to thank everyone for their presentations, especially Dr. Goines on the Empower charter school. That was very informative. I did not know much about that program, but it has been a cause of mine for much of my career to look after those young people. And in my program, we served 175 young women who were pregnant and parenting, and more than 80% of them had been former foster youth. And that's really sad that their community has let them down. So this is another way to at least assure they get an education and that we don't have generational poverty. So I really do appreciate that program. And even if we did need to extend it to 7th and 8th graders, I am in favor of looking at that because it is, unfortunately, it's a valuable program. And at that age, at many times, it's actually a family member who has been involved. So anyway, thank you. This has been a very educational board meeting.
Thank you, Diane. We'll move on to Mr. TP.
Thank you. And I just want to welcome everyone to going back to school. I thought it was great to hear the teachers excited about setting up their classrooms and seeing the kids. And I thought it was also neat that we're being proactive and developing our independent study program so that parents will have an option if they do choose to continue with the independent study. So I'm glad we're helping parents wherever their needs are. And I also wanted to thank the parents for their comments for tonight, and we'll definitely look into their comments and their suggestions. Also, it was neat that our district was being proactive, both with the HVAC program. I know we're ahead of the curve on that, and also with the refinancing of the bonds. So it's great to see both those programs going through. So thank you very much. Great meeting.
Thank you, Greg. Glad to have you back. We'll move on to Miss Price.
Oh, thank you. Am I on? Yes. Yeah, Julie, thank you so much for all the information on testing. That gives us a lot of information to tell the community when they ask about, because, you know, there's a lot of discussion about testing and the variant. Thanks, Jordan, for giving us that information about the charter school. It just isn't interesting that they had originally had 7th and 8th grade in that program. It's like it was slipped under the rug or something. I'm not sure. Larry, thank you for and your everybody for redoing the air conditioners. Now is probably a good time to get that started, and they're going to go up a lot again. My air conditioner was is as I sit here 47 years old. When he looked inside, they don't make this. They haven't made this in 20 years. So it has held on until the new one shows up. So yeah, you just can't do all of this without having the proper air, the proper coolant, and for our children and everyone that lives here. I do like the refinancing. I think that's I like the fact that we can say to the community that we're going to save them $2,500,000 on their taxes. I know for each individual it may not be enough, but I would like the community to know that we're thinking about them. There were several other things in here that I thought that's another, the community grants, the grants for community learning. And I want parents in the community to know that we're always thinking about them and our children. So thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Mr. Giles.
For a good meeting. Thanks to all our presenters. I think everything's been about said. I'm looking forward to saving a little bit of money on my taxes on my house because I pay a lot. There's a lot of school taxes on there, but hey, I'm glad to pay it because I'm a recipient of all that goodness for our kids. So thank you for our speakers that spoke at our meeting regarding masks and safety. And I want to encourage people to do their research because I just realized Newhall, who's pretty close to us, adopted a Healthy Children's Resolution that allows, I don't know what it's going to do. They're still in LA County, but it does. They're probably not going to enforce the mask mandate, so allow it to be optional. Other states and other counties are looking at this a little more seriously, and I'm going to do some calling to our local officials. We have we have Tom Lackey, our legislator. We have Senator Wilk, and we also have Mike Garcia as our congressman. So I'm going to be making calls this week. Also wanted to put a shout out to Fulton and Alsbury for their induction into the best of 2021's Antelope Valley Press winner. And also for their congratulations for their former student to be inducted drafted into the NBA. I believe it was the Tennessee Grizzlies, or anyways, 10th round draft pick. So that's pretty cool that we're on the map there for one of our students from Lancaster. And with that, I'll close it out. Thank you for a good meeting.
Thank you very much, Keith. Dr. Bowers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wynn. I just want to thank the board for their support. You can see we've been busy doing lots of things to benefit our students, our staff, and our community, and constantly looking at ways that we can improve our schools and make sure that we're being good stewards for the district. Also, I wanted to say thank you to all the presenters. I know I've been keeping everybody very busy, so thank you all for being here this evening and for the work that you do, and just to the entire district, because we've been doing new teacher orientations. I had a chance to virtually meet a lot of our new teachers today. We have teachers coming back to the site this week. Our support staff, classified staff have been working overtime, all in preparation for school to start next Tuesday, August 10th. So we are very excited. We feel very ready, very prepared. We have focused on safety measures, making sure that those things are in place, and we are ready to receive students. So I invite everyone to bring their students back. I know that there are some reservations and some hesitation, and I absolutely understand that. School is the best place for our kiddos, though. So I encourage you to give us a chance, bring your child back. I don't believe that you will have any regrets about that. And we've got some good things in place to make sure that they stay safe and that there's some balance between the mask on and mask off. So we'll make sure that we're cognizant of that and very sensitive to that concern. Also, I just want to assure the board and the speakers that the information that was shared this evening, the flyers, I will have that scanned and send it to you. And at the next board meeting under informational items, you will have an opportunity for discussion. So if there are any additional articles or things that I can share with you in between now and that time in preparation for any additional discussion after you've had a chance to review that, there will be some time allocated under informational items for you to engage in that discussion. And with that, I am going to say thank you very much.
No, thank you, Dr. Bowers. We always enjoy hearing you talk about this district and how good it is. We realize it, and it's nice to hear you say the things that you say. Dr. Freeze, 500 air conditioners is what we still have to put new ones in. That's tremendous. I mean, that's amazing. Thank God they continue to operate through all these years. It is something, like Sandy said, 47 years. Ours are 40 years, and they continue to function. Thank you, Julie, for the COVID information. Appreciate that. For Krista, thank you for jumping up and running outside and talking to Mrs. Long. I hope you and her get the information she needs. That'll be very important. I have nothing else other than to say I'm a little hungry, so maybe tomorrow night I'll go to a barbecue. And I hope all the board members attend. Anyway, thank you very much. Are there any further comments? Then with that, we will ask for a motion to adjourn at 8:15. Second. First by Diane Grooms.
Okay. I motioned, but I didn't have my mic on. So
there you go.
Sorry.
Motion by Diane, second by Keith. Is there anyone that's going to say yay?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? No. Vote is 5-0.
Thank you to the audience, both live and virtual, and this meeting is adjourned.